Welcome back to the Fear
and Beer podcast,
where we discuss all things Halloween Horror Nights, horror movies,
and just a little bit of beer.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Seamus.
Like scary movies.
Uh-huh.
Here's Johnny.
It's alive. It's alive. It's alive.
Did you miss me?
Aren't you drinking? I never drink. Why?
Before we get into tonight's episode, we want to remind all of those listening on Apple Podcasts to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us grow as a podcast and build our audience. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, follow us, and don't forget to share with friends and family who might have a little bit of the strange in them as well.
And while you're on those socials, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to find us, Fear and Beer Pod. Give us a like, share, and you can always message us. We love to interact with all you guys.
So, as I hit record, it dawned on me that this episode will be releasing on Friday the 13th.
Oh, you're right. It
So
is.
we should have done a top 10 list and not top 10.
Well, we did do our favorite
top 10.
Friday the 13th movies last year, right? Or was it the year before?
Oh, God, it might have been 2 years ago at this
Was
point.
it 2 years ago?
I
Really?
honestly think it might have been 2 years ago.
This year went by so fast and was so messed up to begin with. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the COVID year, but I mean, still pretty crazy how fast it went. So, yeah, you might be right. Maybe it was leading up to the year prior. That's crazy.
Because I feel like we've
Holy
gotten
crap.
so much. I feel like we haven't really gone back to our, like horror movie episodes, because we've had a lot to cover and we've had more to talk about in regards to Halloween Horror Nights. And we haven't had to really dip into the well of just horror movies, but I think that was one of our towards the beginning stuff when we're still figuring everything out. But we'll get back to that horror movie stuff at some point, I'm sure.
We'll do that eventually. I mean, we don't want to do another Friday the 13th ranking video, but we probably could figure something out to do Jason related. But yeah, it's a good point. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th, so all y'all need to stay away from Crystal Lake. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully tonight you're leaving out all your milk and cookies for Jason Voorhees, your camp counselor outfits, your whistles, all that stuff.
I'll share my Kane Hodder signed picture tomorrow on the Instagram.
Yeah, there we go. So we figured let's take one last stroll down memory lane. 2022 is no more, correct? Yeah, we're going to 2023.
It's no more. It's now 2023.
Jesus. Wow. So we're going to take a little trip down memory lane, and we're going to go over the top 10 moments of this year's HHN moments. Top 10 2022 HHN moments. Now this ranges for across the board of things. This is not just like our houses and scare zones. This is just moments. It could have been moments in the speculation season. It could have been some random rumor that never came true that hyped us up. It could have been a speculation map. It could have been a moment during a house. It could have been a moment during a scare. It could have been just an interaction we had with somebody. The list goes on and on. It's just overall. And
this isn't a comprehensive
moments.
list either. There's so many things that I'm sure you could throw on here.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Since we don't want to talk for 4 hours, we limit it to 10 for most things.
Yep.
So
we kind of narrowed it down a little bit to moments that, if for us, for me, for Seamus, these were just big moments for the podcast and as individuals for the year. So it's just a fun little stroll down memory lane before we really kick into high gear for this next upcoming season, which is crazy to think that, because looking back at some of these moments. And obviously we're going to touch on speculation maps and that season, because that's just such a fun season too. But that starts in like March. So we're really 2 months away before stuff really gets rolling. I know right now it seems like crazy to even talk about speculation, and it's mostly just rumors or things that we did our way too early predictions where we just kind of this has happened in the past, or we're just throwing stuff out there for fun. But it's tough to say concrete speculation, but reputable speculation really begins in that springtime, that March area. So I mean, we're right around the corner of talking about that stuff again. So I guess before we get started into our top 10 list, let's get into beers, because I got one that's probably gonna kick my ass. No pun and no pun
Yeah.
intended.
I mean, I'm not drinking anything special, so we'll just go with what you're drinking. And
So I got Killer Kangaroo from Lupulin Brewing Company. They're out of Minnesota. Yeah, Big Lake, Minnesota. It's an 11% ABV triple IPA.
on
So
a Thursday night too.
yeah. Thankfully, I don't have to work until 6 tomorrow. So
no early morning working for you.
no. So I'll probably hop on and play some video games after this. But I mean, let's see what we got. I mean, I'm expecting, with a triple IPA at that ABV level, I'm expecting like that boozy taste. Maybe some malt. I don't think it's like a hazy, so I'm not expecting any like citra hops or anything like that. But I'm expecting
Well,
that boozy.
Yeah, for a triple,
flavor.
it's gonna knock in your ass. It's just gonna be straight booze. Normally,
And I
triples.
love-
I mean, I've had a couple triples in the past where like it's surprisingly smooth, and you don't really get a lot of that boozy taste. But then most of the triples I've had, it's just straight like rubbing alcohol,
which
with
is just
with
scary.
some hops.
Those triple IPAs that sneak up on you are scary.
Oh yeah,
And,
because if you're not
that's
careful,
the
you're
stuff to stay
talking
away from.
You're talking anywhere from 9 to 12.5%, just
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to say I could give you the true smell of it, but right now, like my right side of my nostril is super congested, and I already
So if-
flushed it once with saline solution, so I got nothing. I got
Well, I
nothing left in
mean,
the tank.
so I mean, if y'all didn't notice, we obviously are another week late because Seamus went and got himself the flu last week, so he couldn't record without sounding like he was talking in a paper bag. So clearly tonight it's Nick's turn to be sick, but at least his voice sounds normal.
Yeah, it's not terrible. I honestly don't know. I don't think I'm sick. I think it's just that cold front.
I mean, granted,
I
you're
think
the only one of
temperatures
the
have
two
been
of us that got COVID, so
yeah. So I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm just so strong and I have COVID again, and my body's like,
Maybe.
"Fuck you, COVID. You're 2
Maybe.
years too late, bitch." But yeah, I think it's just right. I think the seasons are not the seasons really, but
I'm sure the season's okay. It's been cold this. I mean,
temperatures have just been so
surprisingly,
weird.
I mean, this winter has been pretty cold. I mean, obviously everywhere, but for Florida, you guys got to understand that, like, for us, it's been really cold the last, few weeks. So
Poor
it's
us.
screwing
It's in the
everybody up.
60s.
Hey, I'm just saying it was
It feels different.
sub
It does feel
30
different.
on Christmas morning. So
Yep,
I mean, it's
yep.
been crazy cold for us. But yeah, the last week it's been like in the 60s.
And we
But
should
that's
have
cold.
another cold front coming through tomorrow, which I
that's fun.
probably wear fear and beer and weather now, but whatever.
So much fun.
So let's. I'm going to dive into this.
And I'm just drinking Bud Light, if anybody was
This one.
wondering. So nothing special.
Oh God, yeah, that one's boozy. It doesn't even try and hide it. It's just like, ooh, I think I can smell out of my nostrils now.
Oh, you're gonna get hit with a ton of
God,
straight booze.
I can do boozy and stuff but this one, honestly, it's like a little. It's for me too much. I wouldn't.
No,
I'm
you're
gonna
not
suck
wrong.
up and drink it, but it's not my favorite.
You're
This
not
is
wrong.
Not.
It takes a specific type of person to really enjoy those types of triple IPAs that are
triples and triple IPA, stuff like that. Like we've had a couple in the past that I do enjoy. This is just too much for me.
Yeah.
This
If
is
I had
just
to pick between that and like an imperial stout, something that's like heavy like that too, I'd almost rather the IPA, because the stout to me is even boozier, if that makes any sense. I know it's weird because I don't hate, like, I like a decent whiskey, which is kind of what an imperial stout gives me, because a lot of times they're barrel aged to begin with.
Yeah.
But I would rather, if it's beer, I'd rather do the triple IPA. But yeah, there are a few that like they'll punch you in the gut if you're not careful. But then there's other ones that are amazing, like super smooth. You don't really get the boozy aftertaste, and it will knock you on your ass if you have 2 or 3 of them. But at least it's enjoyable while it's knocking you on your ass.
It's crazy too, because it's not even like the boozy is up front, whereas I feel like normally that's the after burners of a lot of these triples. But this is just like booze, and then like it kind of tapers off like a little bit, but not a lot.
And I've never had. Well, I don't want to say I've never had Lupulin. I'm sure I've had something from them, but I think they're the ones that do. I forget the name of it, but I don't know. I've had a couple of their things. I think it sounds familiar, but I've probably never had.
They do one. It's called like Hui which is like the New England IPA. They have Blissful
Mhm.
Ignorance. Oh, Fashion Mullet. We've had Fashion Mullet
Oh,
before.
yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of then.
CPB. They do the CPB, which is the chocolate peanut butter
Yep.
porter
Yep.
kind of thing. So they got a lot of good stuff. This one, not for me necessarily. Yeah, the CPB is the big one that we do. I actually have a bunch of those in the fridge as well. So that's a little bit different than this one, that's for sure. So, but good brewery all overall. This one, I mean, if you're into triple IPAs, I'm sure it's up your alley. But for me, maybe not so much. As I keep sipping it, but who knows? All right, so let's kick this thing off. Why don't I start? I'll start with 10 because I'm looking at how we have the list and it kind of matches up pretty
Yeah,
good
whatever.
with like some stuff that I put on there is kind of on these evens, and you have kind of stuff that's on the odds. So it'll be fun to kind of to talk about these things again. So again, these are our top 10 2022 HHN moments for fear and beer, or just as individual stuff that we really enjoyed. And then number 10, we're gonna lead it off. This was just so much fun. Like I remember the anticipation for this week, just on our end, and like scrambling to get all this stuff done was just a mad dash to the finish. But I honestly had so much fun, like commenting and stuff like that. But this was our 1 week to HHN pod marathon that we decide would be a great idea to do. But now that we're like out of it and the dust has settled and it's so far in the rearview mirror, it was just I had such a blast, and it felt good that we had people reaching out being like, thank you for like understanding the anticipation that we have and being able to put a new episode out every single day, and making the week go by a lot faster for fans that know of us. And honestly, I think that like expanded our reach a little bit too. I think people found out about us because of that. I think us constantly being on the feed and having a new episode, obviously it's overwhelming. Obviously, if you don't have like an hour or hour and a half to listen to a new episode every day, it builds up. But I had so much fun doing so many different styles of episodes in 1 week, and being able to kind of fulfill that need for the HHN people that we're looking for it. Because I know I'm the person that like when I'm excited for something, it's on my mind constantly. It happens when like when Avengers Endgame came out, I was counting down the days for a year, but when it was like that last week, that last 2 weeks, it was like, all right, I got to watch a movie every single day. I got to prepare. I got to read this comic. I got to get ready. Same thing with like HHN. Like once it gets down to like that last week, I'm scrambling for content to absorb just as much as everybody else is, I'm sure. So I'm reading forums. I'm listening to old podcast episodes that like have no relevance to the year. I'm just trying to put stuff into my brain. So, looking back, that was so fun. Like these are episodes I get to like, even as, someone that's recording them, I can go back and listen to them and just like be happy. Like it just makes me happy knowing that we did all those, when we talked about Halloween with my buddy Diaz, and when we did our fantasy football draft with like Jimmy and Jamie and Sam, and we had all our top 10 lists, and it's just, I had such a blast with that.
Yeah, it was a lot of work leading up to it. I'm sure that we felt a little different while we were doing it, but yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting to see how well it turned out as far as like coming up with ideas. Because at first I was a little like, this is going to be tough to kind of fill that many nights with different things that not and I don't and part of it's obviously me joking, but part of it's also like I don't want it to sound repetitive and then have people be like, you guys talk about the same thing over and over again. And granted, I mean, we do kind of reuse some ideas year to year, but I think it's because they work and they're popular. Like the draft thing, I think is a great idea because, you and I are both fans of fantasy sports. We like the whole fantasy draft thing, that whole theme. Yeah. So to be able to take that and turn it into horror related or Horror Nights related, I think really works. And, so that, that's obviously an idea we've reused, but to also come up with multiple ideas that, things that we haven't done before in the past and manage to pull a whole week out of it, is is pretty wild. So yeah, we do I look back on it fondly. Not looking forward to doing it again, but I'm sure
I'm
we've
sure
set a
we will.
precedent now, and we have to kind of do it. So
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I'm just happy to bring stuff to the attention of all of the fans and the fan base and HHN goers, because like you said, leading up to it can be kind of crazy anticipatory, and you just can't wait. You just can't get here soon enough. So having something to kind of tide that over until it actually gives us the time to go and enjoy the event, it's something good to look back on. So yeah, I agree.
I remember when I first came up, I was like, "Ham, what if we did an episode for every day for the last week?" And you're like, "Can we?" I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't know."
Is it possible?
We'll figure it out, I guess. But it is good though, because I mean, even going forward, I don't think it'll get stale, because if we decide to do it again this year, the layout can be the same, but it'll be all a whole different conversation, because it's all new properties and new houses, and so doing a house hype ranking is going to happen every year regardless, and it's going to be different because it's going to be different houses. Same thing with Scare Zones shows, the food and stuff like that. And I think we set up a good
True.
formula.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
that
think
can be replicated to an extent. I mean, who knows if we'll get it done, but
it won't get super repetitive, because everybody wants to, they want to listen to it and they want to talk about it. So I think it'll lend itself to being, an annual type thing.
Mm-hmm. So
until we get tired of doing this.
Yeah, right. Never. Want to jump into number 9 then?
So yeah, I think we all kind of saw this coming a little bit, but when they announced Chucky as a house for this year coming up, last year before the event had it even ended,
I think on the last day.
Was it the last day? Yeah,
it was on Halloween day.
Okay, so they announced it. I know we were talking about it the day before, because I wasn't there on Halloween day, but we were talking about it, so we did kind of call it a little bit. Now, again, I think a lot of people
unofficial
were calling it, but we're gonna take a win when we take a win. So I mean, there we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in line for a couple things, talking about how it's probably going to be a property. They've been talking about doing a Chucky thing probably forever. They've had Chucky at the event 2 straight years. So it makes sense that they would eventually take the property and make a house out of it. So yeah, that pretty simple, but it's pretty memorable in the fact that I don't think they've ever released a house for the subsequent year during the event, even at the end of it. I don't think it's ever happened before. So that's something new. Universal better be careful though, because they're going to set a precedent for themselves where they're going to have to announce something as soon as the event is pretty much over now, because everyone's going to expect it.
Talking about us doing our week-long podcast leading up to HHN, now you're on the hot seat as well. If we're gonna do 7 days every single year, then you're gonna have to announce something on the last night of Horror Nights every year.
I mean, I'm not saying that they have to like that. Don't take that as like Seamus saying, oh, they have to release something now at the end of the event every year for the previous subsequent event. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying that there's going to be a lot of people out there that will think that. They'll go, you gave us Chucky. Why can't you give us something else this early? I mean, come on now, guys. You already know what you're going to do. But I think it's because they had to get it out before anybody else did. And I have a feeling that this is something that would have leaked anyways. Mm-hmm. Because Chucky is a universal property, right? Like that's something that they own. I can't imagine that they've been talking about it and doing it, that they just figured, you know what, Cat's going to be out of the bag sooner than later, so let's just release it now, and then we'll, surprise everybody. But don't be surprised if it turns out to be like a Chucky versus Megan house too.
Oh God, have
you seen that, the commercials for that movie?
Yes, and I hate it so much. I don't even want to see it. I saw the little Megan doll dancing, and I just got so frustrated.
I was like, this has to be a joke, right? This isn't real. But then it's real. It's a real movie. And I'm like, are you
very real?
Like, nope, are they even trying to be original anymore? Let's make a Chucky movie, but the Chucky doll is a girl.
Yeah, it's just
okay.
It's a little ridiculous.
It is pretty insane. And plus, I'm not gonna lie, the animation looks stupid.
It looks. I have.
It's probably practical, but to me it looks bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have little to no desire to see that movie, but no, it's not little. It is just no. I see a lot of movies. Like I I'll go see like just bad movies. That one I have zero interest in
Yeah,
seeing.
no,
I
I'm good. But I think that's a Universal one too. So
yeah,
just saying, be careful. Just
or
look out.
Blumhouse. It might be a Blumhouse movie.
Is it a Blumhouse? I thought it was Universal, but it could be. Yeah,
Um,
I
who
haven't really.
knows?
I mean, I haven't put that much effort into researching that movie other than what I've seen on YouTube. So
Yeah, let me check real quick. Um, Megan is produced. Yeah, it's Blumhouse Productions.
of course it is.
So
Come
yeah, because
on,
why not?
Blumhouse.
Why not? They could.
You guys
They
have so many like hits that you don't need to like
well, that's
make
the thing is they
trashy, stupid copies of other movies.
cost them $12 million to make, so it probably already made double back. At this point.
Well,
So
right. I mean, that's the thing is like with a production company like Blumhouse, they're gonna make back their money on pretty much everything they make because it's all low budget. So
yeah,
like even if it's a trashy, stupid movie that is carping off of other properties, it's still gonna make its money back because everyone's gonna go see it because they're all horror fans or they're Blumhouse fans, or even if it quote unquote bombs, it's still gonna make back what they put into it probably. So
yeah, and for like the whole announcement of Chucky too, it's not Child's Play that excites
it
me,
isn't. Yeah.
or Chucky. It's just that moment when I was sitting in Stay and Scream, and everyone kind of looks at their phone. You get that Twitter notification. You're like,
And everybody's
wait,
looking at each
wait,
other.
what? You're like, they announced a house for next year. It's like, I'm in Stay and Scream right now. Like this year's not even over. That's so like, it was just such a different
Yeah.
thing to do,
How
and
do you
it really caught everyone off guard because you didn't really, from my memory, I don't remember people talking about a possible announcement coming out. It just kind of came out, so that was
Yeah,
cool.
it did kind of just happen. I don't know if we've really talked about it much since the announcement, but do you have any feelings one way or the other towards it?
I haven't. So I know this one's gonna be based off the show, which I haven't seen yet. So I think maybe down the line, maybe in a couple months or something, we'll have to sit down and watch the series and
Yeah,
talk
see,
about
that's
it.
what I mean. So it's a Sci-Fi Channel show, right? It's the Sci-Fi one.
Correct. Yeah.
Um, I have a hard time with TV, like cable TV specifically based stuff. Just because I don't think it goes. I don't think it can go hard enough to be like taken as serious. And I'm trying to make it sound like I don't want to sound like super pretentious, but like with a movie like Chucky, like it has to almost be a movie or at least like a HBO or a Netflix property where they can go a little bit harder. Where it's if it's cable TV, it's gonna be a softer horror property. It's not
Yep.
going to really live up to the same. I don't think I've never seen it. I mean, like you said, we probably should sit down together and watch it or something. But
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things, but you are right. Like with such a ridiculous concept of Child's Play, like it needs to be ridiculous back. Like I can't really take it as like a serious like
no, and I don't,
Chucky doll
yeah,
thing.
and I don't
Like,
think you ever will. But I just worry that this will be another. It's going to be another situation where the show just doesn't live up to the movie.
yeah.
And obviously this house is going to be based on the show, not the movie, because I think the properties are a little different. Um, is it the same Chucky doll from the re-release movie? Like, not the re-release, but the new movie that came out a year or two
No,
ago?
I think that's again another separate thing.
It's
So
completely
like
different, right?
I think there's Child's Play, the original Child's Play, the remake, and then Child's Play, this TV show or
Yeah.
Chucky. I think it's just called Chucky, but
I'll have to sit down and watch it, but I don't know if
yeah.
I have I have to see if I can get it somehow. I don't know what it's on.
It's got to be on some sort of streaming service. I'd
I'm sure it
imagine.
is. I'm sure it is.
I think I want to say like Peacock, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it's on Peacock.
Okay, well, we'll have to sit down and watch it then, because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to make any rash opinions until
Yeah.
I've experienced it, because I could be completely wrong, and I'm sure there's fans out there that are screaming at me, going, "You're so wrong! It's amazing! How can you even
Yeah.
say that?" And I'm like, "Hey, look, I'll give it a chance. I give
Yeah.
everything a chance.
Yeah.
I'm not. I just the announcement. I'm not sure it was. I don't think it warranted announcing as early as they did. I guess is my point.
No, but
I don't know if it's a property that warranted, hey, we're gonna have this next year. Buy your, be sure to be here for it.
yeah,
If they had announced something like Halloween 3
yeah,
or
or like Conjuring is big.
Conjuring, like a big property that's like got international attention on it,
Yeah,
I feel like would have warranted it announcing that early.
yeah.
I just don't know if Chucky warrants that. But again, I don't know. The show could be amazing, and I'm just talking out my ass right now.
Just
So
behind.
we'll
Yeah,
see.
it's like one of those things. Like the show might even be amazing, but I'm still like, I've never been a giant Child's Play Chucky
No,
guy. So
neither have
like,
I.
so
Nope, not my
I mean,
favorite.
even if it's really good, I'll definitely say it's good. But I'm still not going to be like, yay, Chucky, woo! Like, yeah, it's whatever. Like, it's for me, it's
Yeah, right now it's
we'll
take
see,
it or leave it
we'll
for
see.
me.
Yeah, it's
But we'll
fine,
see what I
but
feel
whatever.
after.
All right, so let's get into number 8. So our number 8 moment was the mega crossover episode we did with this was in August. It was like a crossover hype list with Catacombs of Horror, Halloween Horror
Right.
Nights,
I don't think I
HHN
was there. I think it was
365.
just you.
Yeah, RIP Tour, Cathode Coasters, Hung Up on Horror. It was just a blast. Like those are the moments that make me truly enjoy being in this like Horror Nights podcasty community. Is people that we've run into a couple of times here and there, but we all live such different crazy lives that it's tough to kind of like always get together at the same time or whatever. And just that lead up to HHN seems to be when we can kind of create these moments, because we know as individuals we're creating our own stuff, but when we can it sounds like we're putting ourselves up on a pedestal, but it's like those Avengers style movies. It's the crossover aspect of things where it's like, there's probably people out there. If you listen to one of us, you probably listen to multiple or all of us. So then when it's like, I'm even a fan of that. I listened to half of these podcasts before we started our podcast. So it's just cool to like, rub shoulders and just kind of get on one episode together and just have a good time. Like it's we could spend hours just laughing and making fun of each other and just shooting the shit over just random stuff, and it's just so much fun. So that episode was an absolute blast. So that was like the week, I think it came out the week before Horror Nights started, so it was the end of August. But it was a blast. I really enjoyed that one. But yeah, I mean, at some point, I'm sure we'll team back up and we'll do some other kind of episode with those people. We've done stuff in the past with 365. We did a Create Your Own Icon episode like way back in the day. We hopped onto RIP Tours episode for like a little roundtable discussion. So that was super fun, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes, agreed with everything you said.
Yeah. So that was fun. Want to jump up into your number 7?
Yeah. So number 7 in our list is special. I mean, I think that we both can agree that being that we got our first event in a non-COVID regulated society and event, I think that was a big deal for everybody. Getting to actually get back into the fog, get into some of those houses without having to worry about getting scared through plexiglass.
Yeah.
I think was a big deal. I don't know if anybody would disagree with us when we say that a house during the COVID event versus a house normally, that there's any comparison. I think that it was just nice to finally get to a Horror Nights again where we didn't have to worry about making sure that everyone else was masked up behind protective barriers so people weren't getting each other sick. I think it was nice just to be back at a normal event, to feel like it's a normal Horror Nights. And we totally got that with this event, because obviously it was. And I don't think you noticed until you actually got there. Like once you got there opening night and you went through a house for the first time, you're like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. This is what's nice. You didn't see everything coming from a mile away. Um, the scare actors could go back to doing what they were, supposed to do, which is getting right up in your face and scaring the crap out of you. Whereas before it was like, this is amazing. It's great to look at all the hard work that they put in the artwork, but there's just something missing when you see all the scare actors from behind a reflective, clear plastic.
Yeah, it kind of gave it away, which is fine. I get it, but being able to come back around this year to like full-fledged HHN, scare zones are not just like stanchions barricaded off, houses are not, giving away the magic by putting up the plexiglass. Like, it was just nice to be back at a normal year this year. So yeah, we can't not have that on our list. Number 6, Spooky Empire. This was back in June. We set up a table at Spooky Empire for the weekend. We had all kinds of stuff, and a lot of friends and family helped us out. But man, it was just cool, like meeting new people, putting names to faces of people that listen to us already. Handing some shirts out, doing prizes. Like, those were long days. And again, this is kind of like that, like the podcast marathon that we had at number 10, where it's just like, in the moment, it was a lot of work, and for me and you both, these were our days off from normal work. So it was a long week, or 2 weeks, however long the work week was created because of that.
No, and it shows how much, like, although it was work, it's not really work. Does that make any sense? Like, it's just that, those are the type of things that I've always kind of lived to do. It reminded me a lot of when I used to coach high school robotics. Like, I did all of that on my off time. I didn't get paid for it. I didn't do, I got nothing, really as far as like financially beneficial out of it. But it was simply because I enjoyed it so much, and working with the students and coaching and, competing. So to me, it was kind of like that, where obviously I wasn't competing, but being just amongst the community that we like so much. And we were going to be at Spooky anyways that weekend, whether we were, at a table, or we were just visiting as a guest, just because we love that community so much. And it's great to meet new people. It was great to talk to some people that already listened to us, some fans that we already had, to make new fans. Saw some of our friends in the podcasting community and in the HHN community. And we even got to talk to a few celebrities too. So I'm totally, without doubt, unequivocally super happy we did it, and I would love to do it again. Obviously, we're gonna have to talk about it and see how we can make it work, but I would love to do another table just to kind of talk to people and hopefully gain more fans and gain some more listeners, and just to shoot the shit when it comes to horror and horror nights. And that's really what it's down to. I mean, honestly, for most people, they go there to, like, sell their crafts or their goods, the things that they made in their off time from their regular jobs. We have nothing to sell, really. And we obviously had some things
sell
to
ourselves,
but we were really just there to sell ourselves and explain what we did, our podcast, and help friends too. Like, obviously friends that need, wanted to get their crafts and their stuff, out there in the world. And I think it's a great community building type event, and it's totally worth going to. Even if you don't, have a reason to have a booth there, it's definitely worth to check out, especially if you live in the Central Florida area, because it's a fun, close, tight knit convention. It's not one of those big open conventions that there's a million people there on one day. Like, it's a lot of people. It's busy. It's, like you said, it's work, but at the same time, it's small. It's small enough where you feel like you can kind of get to know everybody on a personal level.
It's a doable convention.
Yeah, and I mean, and they definitely have some great guests come in too. So if you're one of those who likes to go to conventions to meet guests and stuff, it's one to check out. I mean, they've already for a year.
Yeah, and I forget the dates for the next one, but they've already announced, like, the cast of Night of the Living Dead, the girl that played Samara in The Ring. Yeah, it's just gonna be fun. And plus, at the Spooky Empire that cracked into our number 6 spot, I got to ask Mike Aiello when they're gonna add Cecil the Witch.
You did, and everybody in the room lost their minds.
Yes, so that was definitely a shining moment for me, for sure. yeah, that was just looking back on stuff. It was just such a fun time. And even now, like when we go to other conventions or we've gone to Spooky since that one we were at, there's vendors from that time that remember us. And it's like, hey, how's it going? Oh, you didn't get a booth this time, blah blah blah. So it's cool that there's like just another community within that community. It's not the horror community, it's the horror vendor community, and it just kind of like snowballs and
Yeah, I
snowballs,
mean,
but just it's
like
so
I
tight
said,
knit.
for most, I think for most of the people that set up shop at these types of conventions, much like our friend Ryan from DOA, or some other people that we've met through events
Cremated
like
Plastics, who hooked us up with
Cremated
the
Plastics.
sick
Yep.
new our little tribute store.
Yep. I mean, I think what's great about it, and like I said, was that a lot of these vendors, this is not their first job. This is their first love, but it's not their first job. They have a lot of other things that are going on in their lives. So to take time out of their busy lives to put this stuff together and build this stuff, create this stuff, for us, the community, for us, the horror fans, and do this on their off time, I think is huge, because it shows how much they love it and how much they love to share their love of it with everyone else that shows up and buys, spends their hard-earned money on them, and the wares that they've created or made or painted or constructed or sculpted. Yeah, I mean, you and I both can attest to dropping $200-$400 on stuff.
Too much.
too much money, but you know what, it's worth it in the end, because we both have our shrines to horror now. Like, I'm still working on mine's not completely done, but I'm running out of space already, because
it'll do some damage on the old walls and the old
for
wallets,
sure,
for sure.
But to be able to sit down and have, not sit down, but to be able to like buy a poster and bullshit with Kane Hodder and have him like not believe that your name is Seamus, and then tell Danielle Harris that my name is Seamus and ask her how she thinks it should be spelled, and then not only that, after that whole ordeal happened, go over and talk with I'm already forgetting his Dennis O'Hare from American Horror Story, and have him tell you, oh yeah, my one of my middle names is Seamus, and I'm like, no way. So it's crazy how like these stories can just happen or occur naturally when you're at one of these events, talking to people that you never thought you'd ever talk to. Like, and I told Dennis that I'm like, you're one of my favorite current like working actors, and I'm super pumped that you're going to be in the next, American Horror Story whenever that decides to drop. So it's cool. It really is a cool event, and it's worth going to, whether it's the summer one or the December one, whatever one you decide you can go to or will go to. They're both worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So number 5, you want to?
Yeah. So I think a big deal for you specifically, and then us as a podcast, is obviously if you follow us on social media, or if you follow our YouTube channel, or if you follow basically anything that we put out, you know that Nick is very talented with the camera, both video and still. And he took a ton of really awesome professional grade like Horror Nights pictures. So if you see some crazy dude with a backwards hat on running around the park during Horror Nights taking pictures of like random scare actors and random scare zones, it's probably Nick. So say hi. I'm usually with him, not always, but if I'm there, you can be like, hey, the less talented half, how you doing too? But no,
needs to hold it down.
All joking aside, one of the ones that he took actually was reposted by the Horror Nights Twitter page, and not like the Horror Nights fan page or this, that, other thing. It was the actual Horror Nights Orlando. They shared the photo, and obviously tagged the podcast in it. So that's a big deal. It shows that I think we're finally getting a little bit of recognition for the work we put into this. Obviously, it's a little different because it's not specifically podcast related, but it shows that the things that we're doing, going to the to the event 2 or 3 nights a week during September and October, really kind of pushing our love for it, in a manner of ways, whether we're recording our voices on a microphone, or you're taking pictures of the amazing scare actors, and giving them some recognition, because I feel like the scare actors don't get nearly enough recognition as they should. So
not on an individual basis. I think like as wholes, we're like, oh, scares. Sweets was really cool, but then when you get down to it, and you're like, well, why was it cool?
Right?
Who made which care? And then you get to have that conversation of like, oh, okay, yes, these ones are really cool.
I think it's a big deal for them too to find to see people really enjoying them as individuals and as individual characters rather than, like you said, just like as a whole.
Mhm.
I know that we've had a couple of people reach out to us directly looking for pictures from you, like, hey, do you have any more of me doing
Yeah.
doing this character or whatever? And that's awesome because they're recognizing that a we're there for them in a lot of ways, and we really do enjoy what they do for us. So the least we can do is like take some awesome pictures of you and share them on the internet.
Yeah, that's just it was so when like they commented on the pictures or one of the pictures and were like, "Can we use this?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, yeah, for sure." And then I was just waiting. I was like, "Hey, are they gonna post this thing or what? Was this? Are they just not gonna get around to it or what?" And then one day it just opened up. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I took that." It's I don't even really need the tag. It was just cool to be like, "Wow, something I did." Or something I did was good enough to put out through our platform that we're good enough that it got to through enough people. Somebody saw this, and that was just like a cool like pat on the back style moment where it's like, wow, whatever we're doing
Yeah,
okay
whatever
right
you're
now.
doing is
We're figuring
working.
it out.
And I think
Yeah.
that
So
no, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something that I lost train of thought. That's okay. Continue. It'll come back to me. I'm sure.
no, I was just saying. I was trying to look up I forget when it was posted, but October 25th. So it was cool. It was like right in the heat of like the moment, right in the heat of the last week. I take pride in obviously videography and photography and stuff like that too. Again, another little side adventure, but it's something that I get to do. And I got to drop something soon too, because I still have a lot of footage that I haven't used and put out. So we'll be on the lookout for that. I might be putting together a little like HHN final video for this year because I still have a stockpile of footage. I think all of the footage I used from the final night I haven't even touched yet. So I gotta really dive into that and start playing around because that'll be fun to play with. So let's get into our top. Oh, that was our number 5.
Yeah,
we're
in
number
the top
4
5,
now.
so we're on a
So
4.
number 4. This is always, we hit upon it early on in this episode, but this is when stuff gets real. This is when it's just, and I say real with like quotation marks because it's not real, but the fact that it's happening is real.
Speculation season kicks up, and gives us stuff to talk about.
So this was March 16th when the first speculation map from Horror Night Nightmares came out, and we were treated with a little house called Seaside Village, and that just kickstarted the entire speculation season and year for us. That was just, it's crazy to think that we saw that in March. If I didn't look that up and you asked me what the date was of the first speculation map, I would have said like June.
Yeah, you don't think of it how soon it starts dropping, but yeah, it's crazy.
But in March it came out, and it's just so fun when that thing comes out because I feel like the community as a whole, obviously everyone in this podcast area, I know speaking for ourselves, we try to keep going with content as much as we can. Sometimes, I don't feel as bad missing a week in January if we were to miss a week in August. Like it's whatever right now. We're in the off season. We're talking about what we're doing. If we take a week off, that's fine. We deserve it because once we get to the crazy season, it really picks up. But March is when it really is like, okay, and I guess
we do tend to forget that March rolls around. We're only 6 months from the event. So it really isn't as far fetched to believe that stuff starts dropping in March and April because they're basically half a year away and they've already kind of got stuff prepared, ready to go. So yeah, it's crazy to look back on that and go, holy crap, that was already over almost a year ago. But
because it does feel, maybe it's because we haven't been posting as consistent, but it does feel as a whole, the HHN community kind of goes into hibernation a little bit. And then when that speculation map comes out, it's just like, someone hits the alarm button, everyone comes out of their house. It's just like, whoa. And, you see the retweets and everywhere. It's the only thing you see on
Right.
Twitter and Instagram.
We go from a Horror Nights podcast to just a straight up horror podcast with some Horror Nights stuff sprinkled in. But once that speculation map kind of drops to the first time, then we're right back into the whole.
It's like the community comes back around too. It's just like, whoa, open the floodgates. Here we go. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
I mean, there's obviously some things mixed interspersed in between, but that's kind of like all hands on deck, and everybody drops what they're doing and goes, "Oh crap! What are they saying about it? Or what are they saying about it? What do we think about it?" So yeah, it gets kind of hectic, but it's fun. It's a fun hectic because speculation. I mean, everybody likes to speculate about everything, so it's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's just it's just so exciting. It's just fun to talk about.
It's an annual thing to look forward to.
So number
into the top 3.
Oh, three.
Yeah,
Duh, not 2.
3.
3.
So we're 3 obviously is the first announcement when they first dropped us some actual information, some actual releases. I already forget which was the first released. I think it was the horror. It was the monsters, right?
Universal Monsters Collide, and that was announced May 17th.
Right. So that was our first announcement in May, which seems pretty true. Like it seems right. It seems like where they should be dropping something, and finding out that it's going to entail 3 separate monsters was a big deal.
And a great video. A great video.
Yes. Oh yeah, great marketing video. I mean, Universal doesn't struggle when it comes to marketing their event and marketing their houses, so it works really well. And obviously, all of the videos ended up working really well together. But I think what's great about that announcement is, hey, we're announcing a house. It's monsters. It's 3 monsters, but we're gonna let you kind of think, figure it out for yourselves what we're gonna do with that. Because obviously, you and I have had some heated discussions about how we feel about versus houses, and depending on what it is and how the monsters, should they be their own solo houses or should we do mashups? I think obviously we have varying opinions on that house for this past event, and I'll leave it at that. That announcement, that's what makes their announcements so good, is that they give you enough, but it's not enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't really know much about it other than the fact that it is a 3 monster house, Universal Monsters. How are they going to make that work? Holy crap, I'm excited.
And that was the fun part too, where we're like, what does this mean? Like, are they all attacking us? Are they attacking each other?
Right.
It's
Like,
what is going on? So I like that aspect of like, you gave me a little bit, but not enough, but that's exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. So moving up to number 2, this is always a really fun time, and I'm going to be very curious what happens this year because there's going to be some stuff moving around, I think. But this was when the Tribute store finally emerged. I think it was in May. I had to check the time frame of that because you posted a picture of it on Instagram, so I had to go look at what date it was posted. So it was sometime in May when that Tribute store started to first emerge, and it was like you could tell it was a movie theater. I was like, okay, this is just it sucks because you're in May and you're like, oh god, I have the whole summer, I have summer fight, but we're pretty close. That means stuff's happening. So like you're still 5 months away, but it's happening right in front of you. The construction.
Yeah, I mean, May, you're only 4 months away. It doesn't seem like it's that close, but it is, because obviously May, June, July, and then August, you're right into speculation season and announcement season, and it starts in September, the first weekend of September. It really does kind of sneak up on you. And I think that was a picture I shared with me and my youngest Harper, right? Like pointing at it.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's right. You don't realize how long ago the Tribute store was kind of like starting, but I think it wasn't Mardi Gras first though.
Yeah. So I think what you had posted was it as Horror Nights because Mardi Gras had already ended.
Maybe they hadn't opened it yet, but they were converting it.
Yeah, so the facade, it wasn't open, but the facade was up. Like it wasn't even complete yet.
Right. Okay.
But it started to finally emerge. Like we could see what was happening. It was very clearly like a movie theater.
Yep.
So it was just like, okay, this is fun. But that's that's one of those, like, it's such an in-between. It's not the early speculation. It's like one of the very first concrete physical pieces that we see, because obviously we can't see the houses. We're not going to see the scare zones, but the Tribute store is that telltale sign of like, all right, this is moving. Like other than that, the next stuff that you start to see is like, for whatever reason, like a picture of a fucking speaker on the ground gets like 1,000 retweets because they're like, oh my god, it's Horror Nights sound speakers in like April or whatever, and it's like, yeah, that's whatever. I mean, that's a speaker. I don't really give a shit, but like it's cool that they're starting. But like the tribute store is like that's a thing. That's it's not a
It's
random
tangible.
stanchion. It's not a random wire that's
It's like
hanging
when
across something.
It's like when they they put up the house signs for the first time, and you have
Yes,
those
yes.
house, whatever you call them. But
It's almost like it's one thing that's like official. Like we're like, okay, we know a house is here. We know a house is here. We don't know what it is. We speculate, we do, but we don't know. But when the stanchion goes,
you at least know kind of like what it is when it's there, even if it's behind like black tarp. You know
yeah,
what's there. Is that there's something for Horror Nights there, and that's when it starts to get like real, like real. Obviously, the
yeah,
tribute store, is done so early, but it's still like you're like, oh yes, like we're it's the first few things that are going up. We're finally kind of getting to that point where we can really start to think and speculate and talk to our friends that work for the event and kind of get an idea of what's going on.
yeah, yep. So do you want to move on up to number one?
Yeah,
Our
so number
one spot.
The one event for the entire event, the entire year, that I think both of us, got actual goosebumps, flutters in the stomach, a little bit of a little heart sick too. I think when you first walked into Dead Man's, that first time you entered that house and you got that blast of cold and snow and the sound of the sea. And when I say heart sick, I mean for us specifically because we're from New England, we're from that area, so like we don't get that. Even if it's artificial, we don't get that New Englandy smell and feeling and wintertime type of environment outside of something like that, or if we go back in the wintertime. But most of us don't do that because the weather's shit. But
because that's why we live here now.
Yeah, that's why I live here. Is the reason why I live here now. But again, you still get that homesick feeling, that little bit of like, oh man, like this brings me back to my childhood. Like this is giving me the retro vibes, giving me the feels, and that's what you got when you first walked into that house. Plus, I mean, it being such a great house, it's a shame that it didn't win House of the Year. I'm sorry. I will go to my grave for this event knowing that house should have won House of the Year, but whatever. You get that. You just get that vibe the minute you walk in. You're like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is exactly what we wanted, and they didn't miss at all on that house. Obviously, there were some tricks that they wanted to pull off that they couldn't because of technical reasons, but I think that even without those, it was still, amazing. And you just, I don't know about you, but like that, I still feel that I still get that feeling when I think about it, where you walk in and you have that, the sailor's wife with the violin statue, like right there in the middle of the central area of that dock. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's a weird feeling to explain, but it's just, you feel almost at home.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, if the house didn't deliver, it wouldn't be this high. But for us, this is just our top 10 moments of it. That the amount of anticipation we've had for this house, and those opening feel vibes when you're just like, you have your game plan, what you want to hit. And I think our first one we did was Halloween, and I think we slipped right into Dead Man's after that. But it was just like, this was exactly what I had in mind, which we've been discussing since March. It started in March, and we got to see it in September.
Seaside Village on the speculation map. We were like, this is going to be Dead Man's. Like, it's going to be Dead Man's, right?
Yep. And we built this up in our head, and it didn't let us down personally. Now, this isn't like being like Dead Man's overall. Like, this isn't just being like, obviously once you go through a house a handful of times, it loses a little bit of the magic. But that initial moment for me, I know, and for you as well, that initial moment where you walk in and it's just the cold snow, the thunder, lightning, the wind, the big like town center facade. It was just so beautiful. It was so above and beyond what I had imagined. It had a lot of the elements I expected, but I didn't conceptualize the actual, building structure of it. I didn't think the size of
Yeah.
it would be the way it was. There's ups and downs and turns that I wouldn't have even imagined. It had a lot of small elements, I thought, but everything else just blew me away. And I remember that first walkthrough was just like tears in my eyes. Like, this is exactly what I
and that's
wanted.
not. I mean,
And
that's
I
not.
got it.
And that's not him being facetious. Like, I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, you do almost get that emotional, misty-eyed type feeling when you did it for the first time, and you only get that once. Like, there's only
Yeah.
one time at an event per house where you get that feeling for those types of houses, where you get in,
Yeah.
you walk in, you're like, this is what Horror Nights is to me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
We've
and
been
everyone has their different houses. This was just ours. You could
Yeah.
say that your house was, you say your Halloween's your favorite franchise, and you missed
right.
all the other Halloween houses before, and you were just like, this is what you needed and what you want. Same thing.
Right.
Any property. Say Stranger Things. The very first time
I
Stranger
mean,
Things
think
was
about it.
there,
I
and
mean,
you're like,
you don't have to like really put this in a Horror Nights perspective
Yeah.
either. You could say this about like walking into
A
Harry
movie,
Potter land for the first time.
yes,
I got
Star
that
Wars,
same
Nintendo.
feeling. Got that same exact feeling when I walked into Hogsmeade for the first time. Because we moved to Florida in 2018. I had never been to Universal after Harry Potter had become a thing.
Mhm.
I before moving here, I had never been to Universal while that was, an active part of the theme park. The last time I've been to the Universal, it was like 25 years ago.
Jaws, King Kong,
Right, so
Twister.
Jaws was still a ride, and King Kong was still a ride, and Twister was still a ride. So, it was probably even before the Mummy opened, to be honest with you. But that same feeling where you walk into there for the first time and you see the snow topped stores and you hear the music and you feel like you're entering the land of Harry Potter. It's the same idea with a house. That's not going to happen every year, because this is the first time I've walked into a house and actually had that feeling, that feeling of wonder and feeling of like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. I don't think it's happened to me before at a Horror Nights event. I haven't been to too many of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they ever did like a Shining House again or something like that, that would be kind of give me the same feeling, because it's like you said, it's like a property that I love dearly, that I would die to have them actually do a house about it again. So it's kind of the same thing. Like for anyone that had never done a Michael Myers house and got to do a Michael Myers house for the first time, you probably got that same feeling. But yeah, it's hard to quantify, it's hard to explain, but it's just know it when it happens, and that it's something that you've been anticipating and looking forward to, and it didn't let you down. Because if it let you down, then you wouldn't get that feeling, and you'd feel almost disappointed. You'd still be probably happy that you're experiencing it, but if it didn't meet your expectations, which this house needed to meet expectations, I mean, speaking for the two of us, I can tell everybody that I think that this had to at least meet expectations, if not blow them away, because we had put so much hype into it to begin with.
Yeah, this one couldn't miss. They weren't going to let it miss on an original property that they were so in love with, but it's just it was everything you said. That's just what it was for us. So that's why it's our number one moment of this past year. Wow, big list. That was a good list, a great year. On top of the 10 moments that we talked about, there have been plenty of other moments, whether it was just, meeting people, saying hi. There's just a bunch of moments that come to mind throughout the past year. And it was just really cool from speculation season all the way through. I mean, shit, we got a lot done this year. We did a lot, and I can't wait to see what 2023 brings for us.
We're here to do it again. So
yeah, so I can't wait. We'll see what happens this year. I'm excited. I can't wait for this next chapter. So I'm ready. In regards to what comes next, I don't know. This is our off season. We are winging it. We will do our best to be on top of things, but it's been a crazy whirlwind of a couple months. We're getting back into it.
Getting episodes out once a week again.
Yeah, we will get back to our point.
Really hard to
stay
focused during the holidays, especially when it comes to having family in town and just being poor. You know how that works. But,
just being angry.
Being angry because it's Christmas, but that's besides the point.
But yeah, so we'll figure it out. This is dropping on Friday the 13th. Enjoy
It
Friday the
is.
13th.
Happy
Thank
Friday
you
the
for
13th.
sticking
Happy
with us
Jason
through this
Voorhees.
little thanks for sticking with us during this little up and down release period. It happens every year.
thanks for
It's
sticking
not
with
going to
us.
change. But we are ready and we're not going anywhere. So until next time, this is Nick.
And this is Seamus.
Happy haunts.
This place is cursed. Cursed. It's got a death curse.
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out. Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.